I transmigrated into a dog-blood urban romance novel as the standard vicious female supporting role. In the original plot, I was the crazy, obsessive childhood sweetheart who pestered the male lead Lu Xinyan for more than 10 years. I abandoned my career, humbled my dignity, offended everyone for him, and finally ended up with a miserable death, bankrupted by my greedy relatives, betrayed by my best friend, framed by the White Moonstone stepsister, and abandoned by Lu Xinyan completely, dying alone in a dilapidated rental house with terminal gastric cancer. The original heroine, Lu Xinyan's soft and weak White Moonstone Lin Xinyu, took advantage of my downfall to firmly occupy the position of the Lu family's young madam, harvesting love, career, and glory effortlessly. Everyone in the novel abused me as a paranoid, vicious, unreasonable lunatic who deserved her tragic ending. But no one knew the truth hidden under the modified plot. No one knew that my so-called obsession was a decade of deliberate emotional kidnapping and moral bondage from Lu Xinyan. No one knew my best friend had long colluded with Lin Xinyu, setting up endless traps to frame me. No one knew my so-called toxic relatives were bribed by the Lin family, deliberately dragging me into the abyss of debt and ruin. No one knew my terminal illness was induced by long-term mental torture and hidden drug tampering, not a natural disease. And most ridiculous of all, Lu Xinyan, the male lead loved by the whole world, had never loved the White Moonstone. He only used her as a shield to delay marriage, while consuming my sincerity and youth wantonly, enjoying my selfless dedication and devotion. The day I transmigrated was the day the original body was diagnosed with advanced terminal gastric cancer. The system's mechanical cold prompt sounded in my mind. Please complete the redemption mission. Sacrifice yourself to fulfill the male lead and heroine's love, and die for the White Moonstone's happy ending. Mission failure. Soul dissipation. I lay on the cold hospital bed, looking at the pale and weak inspection report, and laughed lowly and coldly. Redemption? Why should I redeem a group of people who have ruined my life? The original foolish obsession is over from today. Since this world wants me to be a vicious villain, then I will be ruthless to the end. I will abandon the crazy love for Lu Xinyan, break all bondage, expose everyone's hypocritical masks, step on all betrayers to rise to the top, and let all those who hurt me fall into the endless crematorium of regret for a lifetime. If fate wants me to die, I will defy fate and live brilliantly. Hashtag Chapter 1 Transmigration and Awakening. Abandon the redemption mission. The sterile smell of the hospital lingered in the air, cold and suffocating. I stared at the bold black words, advanced gastric cancer, less than 3 months of survival on the medical report, and quickly sorted out all the plot memories in my mind. This is a popular modern romance novel president's gentle White Moonstone. I am Su Wan, the most tragic cannon fodder villainess in the book. I have been childhood sweethearts with Lu Xinyan since I was a child. My family background was superior when I was young, and I grew up with Lu Xinyan, holding the most sincere and pure love for him. But since Lin Xinyu, the illegitimate daughter of the Lu family, returned to the Lu family, everything has changed. Lin Xinyu pretended to be gentle, weak, and sensible, gaining the pity and favor of the entire Lu family. She deliberately created misunderstandings between Lu Xinyan and me, framing me for being domineering, vicious, and intolerant. Lu Xinyan, who was originally gentle to me, gradually became cold, perfunctory, and even disgusted. He acquiesced to all Lin Xinyu's framing, watched me being abused by the upper-class circle, watched my reputation collapse, and even stood by and watched my relatives bite me back. The original body was stupid and obsessed. She thought it was her own willfulness that ruined the relationship. She kept lowering her posture to apologize, compromise, and please, abandoning her newly started career, ignoring her own dignity, and wholeheartedly making up for the so-called mistake. But the more she compromised, the more insatiable those people became. Her distant relatives took advantage of her soft heart to borrow money repeatedly, accumulating huge debts in her name, emptying all her savings and property. Her only best friend, Zhou Tong, secretly took her core workplace resources, stole her design manuscripts, and framed her for plagiarism and commercial fraud in the industry. Lin Xinyu secretly tampered with her daily health care medicines, inducing her stomach lesions step by step, and finally dragged her to terminal illness. And Lu Xinyan, the man she loved for more than 10 years, knew all the truth, but chose to remain silent. He even used her obsession to let her block countless troubles for the Lu family and finally abandoned her when she was exhausted and terminally ill. In the original ending, the original body was heavily in debt, terminally ill, ruined in reputation, had no relatives or friends, and died alone in despair. After her death, Lu Xinyan and Lin Xinyu held a grand wedding, loved each other perfectly, and became the most enviable golden couple in the city. What a ridiculous and bloody plot. The system's cold prompt sounded again in my mind. Please complete the mission within the time limit. Take the initiative to break off the engagement. Apologize publicly for your vicious behavior. Donate all remaining property to the heroine. And die quietly to fulfill the main couple's happy ending. Reward: peaceful soul reincarnation. Punishment for failure: soul annihilation. I raised my hand and gently stroked the cold medical report, the corners of my mouth curling up with a wanton and cold smile. Mission? Redemption? I refuse. The system was stunned for a moment, and the warning sound exploded sharply. Warning. The host refuses the mandatory mission. You will face soul annihilation. Annihilate if you want. My voice was calm and without the slightest fear. I, Su-Wan, live for myself, not to be a stepping stone for a pair of hypocritical dogs and men. From today on, I quit this ridiculous redemption game. All those who owe me, I will get back one by one. All the pain and grievance I've suffered, I will double return to them. The system's sound completely disappeared, as if it had given up on me. But I knew very well that from the moment I refused the mission, I broke the bondage of the original plot. The villainess no longer sacrifices for the protagonist. From now on, I am the only protagonist of this life. Just as I put away the medical report and was about to leave the ward, the door of the hospital room was pushed open with a bang. A tall and handsome man in a custom black suit walked in. His facial features were profound and cold, his temperament noble and arrogant. It was Lu Xinyan. Behind him was a delicate and weak girl in a white dress, with a pale face and watery eyes, looking extremely pitiful. Lin Xinyu, the world's favorite white moonstone. Lu Xinyan stood at the door, his eyes cold and impatient, without the slightest trace of concern for my illness. He spoke in a cold and harsh tone, directly throwing a document on the bedside cabinet. Su-Wan, sign the engagement termination agreement. I have tolerated your willfulness and madness for more than 10 years. I don't want to waste any more time on you. From today on, we have nothing to do with each other. Lin Xinyu walked gently to the bedside, holding Lu Xinyan's arm weakly, her voice soft and aggrieved. Sister Su, don't be too sad. It's all my fault. If I hadn't come back, you and Brother Xinyan wouldn't have become like this. I will leave right away. Won't disturb you two again. She said she was leaving, but her body clung tighter to Lu Xinyan, and her eyes were full of deliberate provocation and complacency. In the original plot, the original body would be furious when seeing the scene, hysterically questioning and making trouble, and finally being scolded and humiliated by Lu Xinyan, becoming a laughingstock of others. But now, I am no longer that stupid and humble Su-Wan. I raised my eyes casually, glanced at the two hypocritical people in front of me, and the corners of my mouth raised a faint, cold smile. Luiz teria, no grievance, no intanglamente. I picked up the engagement termination agreement calmly, flipped through it casually, and then took out a pen to sign my name neatly without any hesitation. The stroke was sharp and decisive, completely cutting off the decade-long entanglement. Lu Xinyan and Lin Xinyu were both stunned. They had prepared countless words of persuasion and confrontation, ready to deal with my hysterical entanglement, but they never expected that I would agree so simply and neatly. Lu Xinyan's cold eyes flashed with a trace of imperceptible astonishment and confusion. He even felt a strange sense of loss in his heart, but he quickly suppressed it, and his tone became colder. You know your place. I handed the signed agreement back to him, my tone indifferent, without any nostalgia. Lu Xinyan, don't be self-righteous. It's not that you don't want me. It's that I, Su-Wan, don't want you anymore. A man who is ambiguous, indecisive, and allows others to bully his childhood sweetheart is not worthy of my liking for a single second. From now on, you and your white moonstone can stay together peacefully. Don't appear in front of me again. It's an eyesore. After speaking, I ignored their shocked expressions, picked up my bag, and walked straight out of the ward. Behind me, Lu Xinyan's face turned extremely ugly. He stared at my straight and indifferent back, and for the first time in 10 years, he felt a flustered unease in his heart. He was used to my humble pursuit and endless compromise. He had never seen me so decisive, indifferent, and disdainful. This sudden change made his heart empty instantly, and the first spark of regret quietly ignited in his heart. The first fire of his crematorium has quietly lit up. Hashtag Chapter 2 Toxic Relatives That Trap. First round thorough face slapping. After leaving the hospital, I did not choose to go back to the empty villa left by my parents, but went straight to the company where I worked before I fell ill. According to the plot memory, my best friend Joe Tong has been stealing my design manuscripts and workplace resources for a long time. Recently, she relied on my core design draft to win a major cooperation project with the company, and was about to be promoted to the chief design director. And those distant relatives who have been pestering me for money have recently intensified their debt collection, using family affection to kidnap me, forcing me to sell my real estate to pay off their gambling debts and business losses. They set up a huge debt trap for me, trying to completely drain all my remaining value, and then push me into the abyss of bankruptcy. In the original plot, the original body was tortured by illness and emotional breakdown, and finally compromised completely, selling all her property to pay off the debts for her relatives, leaving nothing for herself. But now, I will never let them succeed. I opened my mobile phone and sorted out all the evidence I could recall. The chat records of my relatives borrowing money repeatedly, the transfer records, the evidence of them forging my signature to borrow usury, and the behind-the-scenes collusion records with the Lin family. All the evidence is complete and irrefutable. Just as I was sorting out the materials, my mobile phone rang continuously. It was my aunt who had been pestering me the most. I answered the phone casually, and the aunt's sharp and domineering voice rushed over immediately, without any warmth of family affection. So 1, where are you hiding again? Your cousin's gambling debt of $8 million is due today. Hurry up and transfer the money. If you don't pay, they will break your cousin's legs. You are a rich young lady. What's the use of keeping so much money? Your cousin is the only boy in our family. You have to support him. Hurry up and sell your apartment to pay off the debt. I leaned against a car window, my tone cold and sarcastic. Support him? Why should I pay for his gambling mistakes? The aunt was stunned for a moment, obviously not used to my tough attitude. In the past, I would compromise immediately when she cried and made trouble with family affection. She immediately began to cry and make trouble hysterically. Sue-Won, you are ungrateful. Your parents died early, and our family took care of you for so many years. Now you are prosperous and rich, and you don't recognize your relatives. You are cold-blooded and heartless. I tell you, if you don't pay the money today, we will go to your company to make trouble. Let everyone see how unfilial you are. I smiled coldly. Okay, come if you want. I just happen to have a lot of evidence here that you forged my signature to borrow usury, embezzled my parents' inheritance, and set up a debt trap to frame me. I will wait for you at the company gate. Let's make a big scene and let the police and the whole industry judge who is ungrateful and cold-blooded. The aunt's hysterical cry stopped abruptly, and her voice panicked instantly. You, what nonsense are you talking about? I don't understand. Don't understand? I said unhurriedly. I have all the transfer records, notarized documents, and witness statements. You have embezzled more than 10 million of my inheritance over the years, and forged my signature to borrow 15 million usury. The crime of fraud is enough for you to sit in prison for more than 10 years. Do you want to come to the company to make trouble, or do you want to take the initiative to return all the embezzled funds and cancel the usury? The aunt was completely frightened. She never thought that the always soft and deceiving me would suddenly become so sharp and ruthless, and even collect all the evidence. She stammered and dared not speak arrogantly anymore, and hung up the phone in a panic. This is just the beginning. I will completely uproot this group of greedy and vicious toxic relatives, let them pay the legal price for their greed, and let them taste the bitter fruit of evil retribution. Hashtag Chapter 3 Workplace Backstabbing, Dimensionality Reduction Counterattack, Steal Back Glory. I arrived at the design studio where I worked. As soon as I walked into the office building, I saw my so-called best friend Zhou Tong surrounded by a group of colleagues, receiving endless flattery and praise. Zhou Tong was holding the latest project award certificate, her face full of proud and complacent smiles, pretending to be humble and modest. It's just luck. I just polished the design draft carefully, and I didn't expect to win the company's highest project bonus. Thanks to the company's cultivation, and thanks to everyone's help, I will continue to work hard in the future. The colleagues around kept complimenting. Sister Tong is too powerful. This design is amazing. It's worthy of being the company's top designer. I heard that the company is going to promote you to be the chief design director. Your future is bright. Unlike Sue-Won, who has been pestering President Liu all day, neglecting her work, and has no ambition at all. No wonder she can't achieve anything. All the words were full of praise for Zhou Tong and ridicule for me. Zhou Tong listened to these words. The smile on her face became brighter, and her eyes flashed with proud malice. She stole my half-year hard-working core design draft, changed the signature, and took all my efforts and glory for herself. She even took the opportunity to discredit me in the company, making everyone think that I am a lazy and love-minded waste. In the original plot, she successfully took my position, became a famous designer in the industry, and even took away my industry resources and connections completely. But today, I will let her fall from the peak of glory to the bottom of the valley in an instant. I walked straight into the office hall, my footsteps steady and powerful, instantly attracting everyone's attention. Zhou Tong saw me, and a trace of panic flashed to her eyes, but she quickly pretended to be concerned and gentle, walking up to me and holding my hand. Wan, why are you here? Aren't you resting in the hospital? Don't worry about the company's affairs. Take good care of your body. Her tone was gentle and considerate, but her eyes were full of warning and arrogance, as if she was telling me to be sensible and not destroy her glory. I pulled my hand back coldly, avoiding her hypocritical touch, and glanced at the award certificate in her hand faintly. The design draft of the Jinxia project is good, right? Zhou Tong's expression froze slightly, and she forced a smile. It's just an ordinary work. Not that good. Ordinary work? I raised my voice slightly, spreading my voice to the ears of all colleagues present. This is the core design draft I spent 180 days polishing day and night, revised 36 times, and completed before I was hospitalized. How did it become your work? As soon as the words fell, the whole audience was in an uproar. All the colleagues looked at Zhou Tong in shock, their eyes full of disbelief and doubt. Zhou Tong's face turned pale instantly, and she panicked and defended loudly. Su-Wan, what are you talking about? This is my independent design result. You are slandering me because you are sick and in a bad mood. Slander? I took out my tablet unhurriedly and projected all the original design manuscripts, revision records, draft screenshots, and even the early hand-painted sketches on a large screen in the hall. The timestamps of all the materials are clear, and the revision traces are complete, which completely proves that this design draft was created by me independently. Not only that, I also projected the chat records of Zhou Tong secretly asking my assistant to steal the manuscript and the transfer records of her buying off employees to cover up the truth. All the evidence is conclusive, without any room for sophistry. The expressions of all colleagues completely changed, and the previous praise turned into endless ridicule and disdain. It turns out that Sister Tong stole Su-Wan's design. She is too shameless. No wonder her design style suddenly improved by leaps and bounds. It was all stolen. She still pretends to be humble and modest and slanders Su-Wan behind her back. What a hypocrite! Zhou Tong stood in the center of the hall, her face pale and bloodless, bearing the mocking eyes of everyone. All her pride and glory were completely shattered in an instant. She stared at me in horror and resentment, unable to believe that I, who had always been gentle and tolerant to her, would expose her scandal in public without leaving any room. She panicked and grabbed my arm, begging in a crying voice, Wan, I was wrong. I was confused for a moment. Please forgive me. Don't ruin my career. I shook off her hand ruthlessly, my eyes cold without any mercy. When you stole my manuscript, slandered my reputation, and colluded with others to frame me, you never thought of forgiving me. All the results today are your own fault. I directly took out the employment contract and the evidence of her commercial fraud and handed them to the company HR and person in charge. According to the company regulations, stealing other people's design results and engaging in fraudulent work behavior is a one-vote veto dismissal. And I will reserve the right to pursue legal compensation for all economic losses and reputation losses. The company person in charge looked at the complete evidence, his face extremely ugly, and immediately announced on the spot, Zhou Tong is dismissed immediately, deprived of all project bonuses and promotion qualifications, and included in the industry blacklist. In an instant, Zhou Tong lost all her glory, career, and future that she had stolen. She collapsed on the ground, crying hysterically, full of endless regret and despair. She finally regretted betraying me, regretted being greedy and insatiable, but it was too late. This is the second burning fire of the crematorium. I stood tall and straight in the office hall, accepting the admiration of all my colleagues and completely regained my own glory and dignity. Hashtag Chapter 4 White Moonstone's fake weakness. Expose her illegitimate child scheme. After solving Zhou Tong's workplace betrayal, I returned to my office to sort out my work plans. Just as I was about to start my new project design, the office door was pushed open again. Lu Xinyan walked in with a cold face, followed by the weak Lin Sinew. Lu Xinyan's eyes were dark and cold, with obvious anger and irritability. He stared at me sharply, his tone cold and reproachful. Su-Wan, you are too much. Sinew saw you expose Zhou Tong today, and felt scared and wronged. She has been crying and feeling unwell all day. Can you stop being so vicious and aggressive? Lin Sinyu leaned weakly on Lu Xinyan's arms, her eyes red and tearful, her voice soft and fragile. Brother Xinyan, don't blame Sister Su. It's all my fault. I shouldn't have come back and made Sister Su angry. I'm really fine. Don't quarrel with Sister Su for me. She looked weak and sensible on the surface, but her eyes were full of provocation and calculation. She wanted to use her weakness to make Lu Xinyan angry with me, to shape me into a vicious and unreasonable woman, and to completely destroy my reputation. In the original plot, the original body would be furious when seeing their intimate appearance, arguing hysterically, and finally being scolded by Lu Xinyan for being intolerant and vicious. But now, I have seen through all her hypocritical tricks. I looked at the two of them coldly, and the corners of my mouth raised a sarcastic smile. Vicious? Aggressive. Lu Xinyan, you've been blind for so many years, and you can't tell who is really good to you and who is pretending to be weak and scheming. Do you really think your white moonstone is a pure, innocent, and sensible good girl? Lu Xinyan's face sank instantly. Su Wan, don't slander Sinyu. She is simple and kind. How can she have scheming? Lin Sinyu also showed a hurt expression, tears rolling in her eyes. Sister Su, why do you always target me? I really don't have any bad thoughts. No bad thoughts. I took out a batch of sordid evidence and projected it on the screen. Then let's talk about your good deeds. You are the illegitimate daughter of the Lu family's external affair. You have been living abroad since childhood, resentful of the Lu family's original spouse, and resentful of me who grew up with Lu Xinyan. After returning to the Lu family, you deliberately pretended to be weak and sick to win the sympathy of the elders. You secretly provoked the relationship between me and Lu Xinyan countless times, creating misunderstandings. You bribed my relatives and my best friend, set up debt traps and workplace traps for me, and even secretly tampered with my daily medicines to induce my gastric cancer. Every word I said was sonorous and powerful, and every piece of evidence was clear and irrefutable. The medicine purchase records, the chat records of bribing others, the surveillance videos of sneaking into my residence to tamper with medicines, and the life experience files, all completely exposed Lin Sinyu's hypocritical and vicious true face. Lu Xinyan's face turned from cold to shocked, then to incredible pale. He stared at the evidence on the screen stiffly, his whole body trembling slightly, and his brain was completely blank. He had always thought that Lin Sinyu was a pure and innocent white moonstone who was bullied and wronged. He had always thought that I was the one who was aggressive and unreasonable. But the truth completely shattered all his cognition. The weak and sensible white moonstone in his eyes is actually a scheming, vicious, and cruel woman who can do anything to achieve her goals. Lin Sinyu's face was completely pale and desperate. She looked at the evidence on the screen in horror, and all her disguise was completely torn off. She panicked and shook her head repeatedly, crying and defending. No, it's not true. This is all fake. Su Wan framed me. Brother Xinyan, don't believe her. But her trembling body and flustered eyes had completely exposed her guilty conscience. Lu Xinyan stared at her fiercely, his voice hoarse and trembling with extreme anger and regret. You lied to me all the time? All the misunderstandings, all the grievances, all the disputes between me and Su Wan are all your schemes? Lin Sinyu couldn't hold on any longer and collapsed on the ground crying, without any of the previous white moonstone demeanor. At this moment, endless regret and pain completely engulfed Lu Xinyan. He finally realized how stupid and blind he was. For so many years, he has been favoring a vicious schemer, hurting the girl who loved him sincerely, wronging her, alienating her, and watching her fall into the abyss step by step. He even terminated the engagement with her when she was seriously ill, adding the most fatal injury to her. The regret in his heart surged like a tide, burning his internal organs painfully. The fire of his crematorium completely burned, fierce and irreversible. Hashtag Chapter 5 Terminal Illness Fake Death Scheme, complete break with the past. After Lin Sinyu's true face was exposed, the entire Lu family was in an uproar. All the elders knew that they had been deceived by an illegitimate daughter for several years, and they were extremely angry. They immediately removed all of Lin Sinyu's treatment rights and family privileges, and drove her out of the Lu family completely. Lin Sinyu, who once occupied the glory of the White Moonstone, completely lost everything, became a street mouse that everyone shouted and beat, and fell into the abyss of despair. She cried and begged Lu Xinyan for forgiveness countless times, but Lu Xinyan was completely cold to her, and even ordered someone to block all her contact information. He has no extra thoughts on anyone now. His whole mind is full of regret and guilt for me. He knew that I was suffering from terminal illness and had less than 3 months to live, and his heart was filled with endless panic and pain. He began to chase me frantically, wanting to make up for all the mistakes he had made, wanting to take good care of me and redeem his sins. He waited for me downstairs of the company every day, sent me expensive tonics and medical resources, and took the initiative to help me solve the follow-up troubles of toxic relatives and Joe Tong's affairs. He humbled his proud head, apologized to me repeatedly, and begged for my forgiveness. But I was always indifferent and refused all his overtures without hesitation. His regret is his business, and my life is my own. I will never forgive a man who has been blind and wronged me for more than 10 years. Moreover, the terminal illness is not a dead end for me. After sorting out the plot loopholes, I found that the original body's lesion was induced by external drugs. As long as I stop taking the tampered medicines and use targeted medical treatment combined with physical conditioning, my condition can be completely controlled and even cured. The so-called 3-month survival period is just a fatal trap set by Lin Sinew and others for me. In order to completely get rid of all the trivial entanglements and start a new life, I formulated a fake death plan. I took advantage of a routine hospital review, arranged a perfect medical accident fake death scene, let the hospital announce my death news, and completely cut off all connections with the past. On the day the news of my death spread, Lu Shenyan completely collapsed. He rushed to the hospital's morning hall in a frenzy, knelt in front of my portrait, and cried bitterly, like a walking dead man who lost a soul. The proud and indifferent young master of the Lu family, who was always high above others, knelt on the cold ground, crying helplessly and painfully, full of endless regret and despair. He kept slapping himself in the face, blaming his own stupidity and blindness. "I'm sorry, Van Van. I was wrong. I shouldn't have wronged you. I shouldn't have hurt you. Come back, okay? I will treat you well for the rest of my life. I will compensate you for everything." But no matter how he repented and cried, there was no response. The girl who loved him for more than 10 years, who was wronged and hurt by him countless times, completely disappeared from his world. His crematorium completely burned into a sea of flames, endless and irredeemable. He began a long period of spiritual redemption and self-torture. He kept all my relics properly, visited my empty villa every day, sat in the room where I once lived for a whole day, and recalled every bit of our childhood. He rejected all cooperation with the Lin family, completely uprooted all forces related to Lin Sinew, and avenged all the grievances I suffered. He liquidated all my toxic relatives, letting them go to jail for fraud and debt traps, and suffer legal retribution. He blocked Joe Tong from the entire industry, making her never have a chance to turn over. He punished everyone who had hurt me severely, but he could never redeem the fact that he had lost me. He lived in endless regret and self-blame every day, suffering from the most painful crematorium torture for a lifetime. Hashtag Chapter 6 Hidden Property Layout. Rise to the power peak. After the fake death, I completely disappeared from everyone's sight and went abroad for professional medical treatment and career layout. With advanced medical technology and scientific conditioning, my physical condition improved rapidly, and the induced gastric lesion was completely cured without any sequelae. I no longer have the shackles of terminal illness, no longer have the entanglement of past feelings and toxic relationships. I took back all my embezzled inheritance and property and used my forward-looking vision and professional design ability to start an international design studio and investment company abroad. In the past few years of being trapped in feelings and family trivialities, I have buried my extraordinary talent and vision. Now, I completely release my ability and shine brightly in the international industry. My design works have won numerous international awards, quickly becoming a top influential designer in the global design industry. My investment vision is precise and sharp, and the projects I invest in have repeatedly achieved high returns, quickly accumulating huge personal wealth and global connections. I travel around the world, expand my horizons, enrich my mind, and live a free, independent, and brilliant life. I no longer humble myself for anyone, no longer compromise for any relationship, and completely complete the most thorough self-growth and self-salvation. 3 years later, I return to the city where I once lived with a brand new identity and supreme aura. I am no longer the humble, obsessive, and wronged Sue Wan in the past. I am the founder of the international top design brand, a top investor with billions of assets, and a powerful woman standing at the peak of the industry. Hashtag Chapter 7 Full Cast Crematorium, the most cool ending of self-redemption. The annual Global Elite Summit was held in this city. All top celebrities, entrepreneurs, and industry leaders gathered at the scene. Lu Xinyan, as the helm of the Lu family enterprise, was the core guest of the summit. In the past 3 years, he has been living in regret and self-blame. He has never had any intimate relationship with any woman and has been guarding the empty memory alone. His temperament became more cold and silent, and his eyes were always covered with endless gloom and regret. At the summit opening ceremony, when I walked into the venue wearing a high-end custom dress and shining all over, the whole audience was instantly shocked. My facial features are still the same, but my temperament is completely different from the past. Calm, powerful, confident, and shining, with the supreme aura of a top elite, crushing all the celebrities present. Lu Xinyan stared at my figure in a daze, his whole body stiff on the spot, his eyes instantly red, and his breathing almost stopped. He couldn't believe his eyes. The person who he thought had passed away 3 years ago, the person he had regretted and missed day and night, stood in front of him alive and brilliantly. His heart beat violently, and endless ecstasy and regret surged up at the same time, almost drowning him. He rushed towards me frantically, ignoring the eyes of the whole audience, his voice hoarse and trembling. "Wanwan, is that you? You are not dead." I stopped in my footsteps, turned my head to look at him casually, my eyes calm and indifferent, without any love or hate, only thorough relief and unfamiliarity. "President Liu, long time no see." My tone was polite and distant, just like treating a stranger I met by chance. Lu Xinyan's footsteps froze instantly, and the ecstasy on his face faded rapidly, replaced by deep pain and panic. He could feel the thorough alienation in my eyes. I came back alive, but I completely abandoned him. "Wanwan, I am sorry. I know I was wrong." His eyes were red, and he humbled himself to the extreme in public. "Can you give me a chance to make up for it? I will spend my whole life compensating you, protecting you, and never letting you suffer any grievance again." All the guests at the scene were shocked, staring at the high and powerful President Liu, who was humbly begging for forgiveness, full of disbelief. I looked at his desperate and regretful appearance, and the corners of my mouth raised a faint, indifferent smile. "No need. Lu Xinyan, your regret is your own business. I have already walked out of the past darkness. 3 years ago, I was terminally ill, wronged and helpless, and you were the one who pushed me into the abyss. Now I am brilliant and standing at the peak, and I don't need your so-called compensation and protection. I used to love you for more than 10 years, humble and desperate. But now I don't love you anymore. Your crematorium is your lifelong punishment, and my brilliance is my new life." After speaking, I turned around and walked towards the brightest spotlight in the venue, my back straight and free, without any nostalgia. Behind me, Lu Xinyan stood alone in the bustling crowd, watching my shining figure with endless regret and despair in his eyes. He got his life back, but lost me forever. His crematorium will burn for the rest of his life, endless and irredeemable. All the villains who hurt me have long fallen into the abyss of retribution. Lin Xinyu was ruined in reputation and had no place to live, suffering from mental torture all year round. Zhou Tong was blocked in the industry and could only do the most humble work to make a living. All the toxic relatives served their sentences in prison and paid the price for their greed. Everyone who betrayed and hurt me has their own due retribution and lifelong regret. And I break free from all emotional shackles and worldly trivialities, rely on my own strength to rise against the trend, stand at the peak of life, and bloom the most dazzling light. I no longer live for anyone's love, no longer compromise for any relationship. This life, self-reliance, self-improvement, self-brilliance, no regrets, no dependence. This is the most thorough counterattack, the coolest growth, and the perfect ending of a strong woman's revenge.